Okay, so last week, did anyone do their homework from last week? State what the homework is. There were several things. You have a microphone? You have a microphone? Will the fat man live longer than the skinny man? Right. Of what? State of? What is it? How do you say that? How do you spell that? What? They make what? Ah, one reason to be fat. What? What? Okay. That means the lowest sugar in it. Right? Which one is uh, which has 25? What was after grapefruit? And what's that? No. What's dry at? Okay. Pear. Pear is 38. Okay. Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the two reasons are fructose is better than glucose. Why? Yeah. Okay. So last week we learned about the three musketeers: glucose, fructose, and sucrose. There's three musketeers: glucose, fructose, and sucrose. So how is glucose made? Glucose is the most simple sugar.
It's made.
Anybody know? You know, Arush? You know, no. Come on, you have to learn these things. We learned it last week. Yes.
By the process of decomposition.
By what?
When it decomposes, so like the the sugars break down into the complex sugars.
No, that doesn't. No, how is it? How is it created in the beginning?
Oh,
Not how is it made from more complex carbohydrates. Well, we studied the carbon cycle, right? What's the carbon cycle? Remember? carbon cycle. What? What do you remember? Give me one bit. Very good. What is that? What is photosynthesis? Can we have a microphone, Prabhu? Oh, just give it to... Yes. Shrivani. So you said photosynthesis. Very good. That's correct. You know what photosynthesis is? Wait a minute. Let her...
I think it's when
Hold the microphone closer.
when sunlight hits the plant,
Yes.
it makes sugar, or does it grow? Like, I don't know that part.
Yeah, okay. So, first of all, plant leaves are like solar panels. Right? But a solar panel is made after the plants, not that the plant is made after the solar panel. So what does a solar panel do? It captures the energy of the sun, right?
Yeah.
And transforms it into electricity. So what is the sun's energy exactly? What is it made of? Well, let's say there's a light bulb, right? Now, what does a light bulb do?
It lights the entire room.
Right.
It brings brightness.
It also does what? Heat.
Oh, heat.
So there's light and heat, right?
Yeah.
So the sunshine has these two qualities of light and heat. So these are two types of energies, right? And what do we know that this? Where does the sunshine come from?
Sunshine comes from the sun.
Well, how does the sunshine get into the sun?
No, because like the sun's there, and when the sun shines, then I see what you're okay.
What's the origin of the sun's energy?
Origin is Krishna, right? Or
Yeah.
Surya?
How? What does Krishna do?
Krishna provides, or Krishna, I don't know.
Okay, Sanskriti. And what? Is the what? Reflection. Yeah, it's reflected off what? Yes, the sun glow. So that's the origin of the energy of the sun. Now the scientists would say there's a thing called fusion that's taking place in the sun, right? So there's two types of energy. There's explosion energy and there's fusion energy. So explosion energy is you blow up atoms and it releases energy. And fusion energy is you bring atoms together and it creates energy, or it produces energy. So fusion energy is greater than explosion energy. Now all of our technology today, like cars and factories and everything, it's all based on explosion energy. So you know how a car works? Huh? What happens to the gas? Huh? It explodes. If you put a match to gas in a closed chamber, it'll explode, right? So where's that? What's that chamber? It's called the pistons in a car. So when the fuel injectors put some gasoline in the chamber of the cylinder, there's an explosion. It makes the cylinder go down. And then when it explodes, then the exhaust goes out, and then the cylinder comes back up again. And then there's another explosion, it goes down. Now when it goes down, it makes something turn. There's a connection between the cylinder going down and making something turn. So eventually the wheels start moving. As soon as you put your foot on the gas pedal, it introduces gas into the cylinder, and then the cylinder, and then this explosion, the cylinder goes down and then comes back up, and that makes something move. And eventually it makes the wheel move, right? So this is called the internal combustion engine. Write that down. Internal combustion engine. Internal combustion engine. I-N-T-E-R-N-A-L. I-N-T-E-R-N-A-L. Internal combustion. C-O-M-B-U-S-T-I-O-N. C-U-M-B-U-S-T-I-O-N. Engine. E-N-G-I-N-E. You have a pen? You have a pen? Internal combustion engine. So that's your car. It's called next time you don't call it car, call it an internal combustion engine. So combustion means an explosion, and it's an engine that works with internal combustion, right? So everything starts from the sun, but actually the sun starts from Krishna and his Brahmajyoti. What's the Brahmajyoti made of? It's made of spirit souls, right? Infinite spirit souls. So, and the spirit soul cannot be destroyed. But it's a spirit soul is likened to a pencil of light. So if there's light, there's also heat. So the heat and light are used for energy. It doesn't affect the soul because the soul is eternal. Okay, so now what happens is energy, there's the law of conservation of energy. What does that say? Ria, you know what the law of conservation of energy is? Yes? What's the law of conservation of energy? What does it say? Okay, read it. Just read it.
States that energy cannot be created or destroyed in an isolated system.
Okay, so what does that mean exactly? If you can't create it and you can't destroy it, what does that mean? It's eternal. You can't create it, you can't destroy it. So obviously somebody created it. It just means that we can't create it, we can't destroy it. But it's eternal. So if there's energy, there must be the energetic. What does that mean? Write these two words down. Energy and energetic. What does that mean, energetic? If there's energy, it must be an energetic, yes? Yeah, person who put it out. So, you just can't have energy, right? Like, for example, does your cell phone make energy? Huh? It does?
No. It uses energy?
It uses energy, right. So, where did the energy come that makes your cell phone work? You know, Ria? Where does the energy come that makes your cell phone work?
Sun?
Originally, yes.
The battery?
It comes from the battery. Where does the battery get its energy from? Yes.
The electricity?
Yeah, where's the electricity come from?
The
That's one source. Any other sources? Huh? Okay, now that's two sources, water and sun. Next. Coal. Did you say coal? Who said coal? Oh, you did. Okay. So, coal. Any other fossil fuels? Yeah, any other? What's oil? What else? Any? What? Wind? Yes, that's another one. You missed one of the fossil fuels. Gas. Okay, so now we have 6 sources where you can get the energy from. Wind, water, and gasoline or oil, coal, and water. Right? So you have water, wind, gasoline, coal, and oil. Yeah. Well, the sun is producing all these things. So, okay, we'll put sun, but the sun is producing all these things. All these things depend on sun. They derive. So where does the gas, coal, and oil come from? Yeah, but what's the more immediate cause of gas, coal, and oil? See, what's happening is the sun is the source of all energy in the universe, right? And the sun is getting its energy from Brahma Jyoti, which is the effulgence coming from Krishna's body. But we said that you can't create energy, you can't destroy it, but energy can be transformed. So what is transforming the energy of the sun into gas, coal, and oil? Huh? Yeah, what is the carbon cycle exactly? What is transforming the energy of the sun? You know, Shivani, what's transforming the energy of the sun? You said it before. The plants, yes, the plants. And photosynthesis, yes. So, see, now this is real science because you're seeing how it all comes from Krishna, but in very, very wonderful ways through photosynthesis and so forth. So the plants catch the energy of the sun, and they produce what's called what? What do they produce? A simple sugar. Glucose. So the chemical analysis of glucose is carbon 6, hydrogen 12, oxygen 6. You write that down. C6H12O6. So C is carbon, H is hydrogen, O is oxygen. So where does the plant get the carbon from? Where does it get the hydrogen from? And where does it get the oxygen from? Where does the plant get the carbon from? Huh? No. Carbon dioxide. What do we exhale? Right. And where does it go? In the air. And then what do we breathe? Yeah. Where does that come from? Well, yes. The plants put it into the air. So we breathe in oxygen. Well, plants exhale oxygen, but they inhale carbon dioxide. So you see how important plants are. That's why you see plants everywhere. Without them, we would all die. And where does the H12 come from? From water, yeah. So it rains, it goes into the earth, and then the plant absorbs water from the earth. And carbon from carbon dioxide in the air, and oxygen I think they get it, I'm not sure if they get it from the earth or the air. Obviously oxygen is in both. But anyway, they get oxygen. Oh no, it's from carbon. Okay, no. Oh yeah, water is H2O, I'm sorry. Yeah, they get it from the water. Okay. So you see the plant's able to do this miraculous thing, and it ends up making glucose, which is transformed into more complex and stable carbohydrates, and eventually it becomes compacted and heated, and it becomes either gas, oil, or coal. And these are called fossil fuels. So the gas, coal, and oil are called fossil fuels. Why does it say fossil fuels? What's a fossil? F-O-S-S-I-L. What's a fossil? Yeah, it's dead bodies, basically, of animals, birds, human beings, and other things like that. It's all compacted, and it breaks down eventually to, they're basically carbohydrate molecules, and it's broken down eventually into coal, oil, or gas. Okay, so this is the other story of energy. And the source of everything is Krishna. They don't teach that in school. But this is a better school where we actually teach the whole picture. Okay, so this law of conservation of energy is very, very important because it proves that energy is eternal. And if there's energy, there must be an energetic. Who is the person that is energetic? Krishna. He's the source of all energy. And he's eternal. So you can't make something eternal unless you are eternal. So Krishna is an eternal person, and he's making all these eternal energies. Even the material energy is eternal. Is that right or wrong? Yeah. You can't destroy it. You can't create it. Obviously, it's already been created by somebody else, and it's Krishna. Okay. So now this law of conservation of energy says that energy cannot be created or destroyed, but only changed from one form into another, or transferred from one object to another. So now we're going to discuss some examples of the transfer of energy. For example, water can produce electricity. Water falls from the sky, and that converts potential energy to kinetic energy. So this is a new word now, kinetic, K-I-N-E-T-I-C. K-I-N-E-T-I-C. So, first of all, how did the water get into the sky? You explain that to me. Yes. By Correct. What does evaporate mean? Yeah, so what was it originally? Water, yeah. So where is there water? Yes, oceans, rivers, streams, right. So what causes the evaporation of the water? Very good. Yes. So you see, we all depend on the sun. The sun is doing everything. It's the original doer in the material world. And the sun is considered one eye of Krishna. Okay. It's also, when we say, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur Varinyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi. What is that mantra? The Gayatri Mantra. Gayatri Mantra, this is the first line of the Gayatri Mantra. It says, Om Bhur Bhuva Swaha Tat Savitur. Savitur means the sun. We're offering our obeisances to the sun. Why? Because it's a source of all energy in the material world. But the sun is simply getting its energy from the Brahma Jyoti, which is reflected off of it, and then it comes into the material world from the spiritual world. And the Brahma Jyoti is the effulgence coming from the body of Krishna. So when you say the Gayatri Mantra, you go step by step from the sun back to Krishna in this series of mantras. And then when you come to Krishna, there are other later mantras in the Gayatri Mantra. There's seven mantras that you say in the Gayatri Mantra. And the last two are all about Krishna's transcendental pastimes in the spiritual world. So the Gayatri Mantra is how you go back to Godhead, basically. But it begins with the sun, because the sun is the source of all life and energy in the material world. We're in the material world. So we start from this point, and the Gayatri Mantra leads us back to Godhead, back to the spiritual world. So, water can produce electricity. Water falls from the sky. You can look at your sheet. Water falls from the sky, converting potential energy to kinetic energy. So what is potential energy and what is kinetic energy? Okay. Kinetic energy is energy which a body possesses by virtue of being in motion. It's energy which a body produces by virtue of being in motion. And potential energy is energy that something possesses but has not been used yet. But it can transfer. It's an energy that can be transferred. So, when obviously the sun used energy to evaporate water and make it into a cloud, right? And the cloud is an engineering miracle because it separates the molecules of water. Water becomes a gas, and those molecules, each individual molecule is lighter than the air. So therefore, it floats in the air. One average cloud has 1 million gallons of water in it. And then the air pushes it. So how would you move 1 million gallons of water? Can you lift, like we have these plastic 5-gallon buckets downstairs. Can you lift one of those, Rhea? 5 gallons is 40 pounds. Huh? No, you can't even lift it. How would you lift 1 million pounds and move it 10,000 miles from the middle of the Pacific to the East Coast? How would you do that? No way you could do it, right? But yet, Krishna can do it with his energy, with the Brahma Jyoti coming off of the sun, and it evaporates this water and it spreads it out. It spreads each molecule out so that the air is heavier than the molecule of water. So then the molecule of water floats. And then Krishna creates high pressure and low pressure areas on the earth. How does it do that? Well, the sun is shining, right? But it shines on trees. It shines on rocks. It shines on rivers. So you have plants, you have rocks, you have rivers. So each one either absorbs or reflects the sun in different ways. And because of that, the different ways that sun is reflected, it creates high and low areas of pressure. So when there's a low area of pressure, let's say here, and a high area of pressure here, then the air moves toward that low area of pressure. That's what creates winds. And then as it's moving, it carries with it clouds. So now you can move 1 million pounds of water. That's a typical average cloud. 1 million pounds of water, thousands of miles. Not that you do it, but Krishna is doing it. It's an engineering miracle that no one else can do. You can't do such a thing. You know how much it would cost to move 1 million pounds of water from California to New York State? Let me tell you, let me give you an idea. One big truck, a Mack truck, right? When they go down the highway, they have to stop periodically every 50 or 100 miles to be weighed. There's weighing stations. You ever see those signs, weighing stations? It's mandatory that these trucks stop and get weighed. Why? Because they want to know how many pounds they're carrying. Because there are certain roads and bridges that can't support too much weight. It would make the bridge collapse. Did you know this? It's very interesting. So the weighing station weight. Now, and each truck has a maximum amount of weight that it can carry legally. So they weigh the trucks, and if the trucks doesn't stop, I mean, if it doesn't stop, then they fine them, or they ground them. Right? The police will chase it and stop it, and it'll be grounded. And they have to pay. Some of the pay stations you have to pay to be weighed. That's why truckers have, there's a lot of rules they have to follow. So, most trucks carry 35,000 to 50,000 pounds, those big trucks, right? So how many 50,000 pounds are there in 1 million pounds? 20, right? So you would need 20 trucks going from California to, and wait a minute, these are special trucks. They have to carry water, so it's not just an ordinary truck. Now it's a very special truck that can carry, let's say, 50,000 pounds of water, right? So to go from California to New York, it's like 3,000 miles, right? So these big trucks, they use diesel fuel, right? And diesel fuel costs over $3 a gallon. Right? Usually diesel fuel is more expensive in America than in Europe. In Europe, diesel fuel is cheaper than gas, but in America, diesel fuel is more expensive than gas. It's very interesting. I never figured out why. So let's say an average gallon is $3. Okay, it's more, but it's $3. Let's just say $3. So, and in a big truck, I don't think you get more than 6 or 8 miles a gallon. I think so. I'm not sure, but let's say it's 10 miles a gallon. So you have 3,000 miles that it has to go. So how much is that? Let's say it's 10 miles a gallon. So 10 goes into 3,300 times, right? So how much money is it? $3 a gallon? $900, right? And that's to move 50,000 pounds. And we're going to move 1 million pounds. So multiply that by 20. Yeah. $18,000? Is it? Oh yeah, there's all these other things. The oil for the truck, salaries, everything. It cost $18,000 to move 1 million pounds of water from California to New York, right? And it costs nothing to move it by Krishna's engineering. It costs nothing. See, because energy is eternal. You can't create it, you can't destroy it, but it transforms from potential energy to kinetic energy, right? So now you begin to understand what Krishna has done, right? No human being has done this. They do it in different ways, $18,000 and so much time. You know how what the speed of the wind is? It's another amazing thing. Yeah, no truck can go 180 miles, right? So you see how Krishna is so brilliant. He's done all these things, and most people don't understand this at all. They say, what did the stock market do today? That's what they're talking about, How much is my 401k? Like that. They're not, they take for granted all these things that our life depends on, right? There's no rain, you wouldn't be able to live. You wouldn't have any food. Nothing. But in order to have that, you have to have the whole big organization that Krishna set up. The Brahmajyoti, the wind, the clouds, and they're all engineering genius. No one's ever created such genius things as Krishna has done. And yet they say there's no God. It all happened by accident. There was a big bang that started from a point of infinite density. This is the biggest nonsense that's ever been taught in a public school. The Big Bang, it's called the Big Bum, right? And kids actually believe it. They come home, they think they're scientists because they know the Big Bang Theory. They know nothing at all, absolutely nothing, right? So now, when water produces electricity. Water falls from the sky, converting potential energy to kinetic energy. What is potential? When this water evaporated by the sun, it went up. You know how high the clouds are? They could be like maybe 1 mile high or half a mile high or a quarter mile high, right? Now, that means that if they fall down, it produces energy. And they transfer the energy during that fall from potential, which means, potential means wood has potential energy in it. Because if you add fire to the wood burns and releases energy. See? So it has this potential energy in it, right? You don't see the energy, but if you add fire to it, boom, it bursts into a fire, right? And burns for so much time. So that by evaporating the water way up in the sky and doing this, what you call a miraculous engineering feat of floating the water in the air in the form of a cloud, there's potential energy there. And now, when the heat and cold, the cold, there's different areas where there's different temperatures. When it hits an area where it's cold enough, those molecules of water get closer together and they sort of join and become heavier. Then when they become heavier than the air below, then there's rain. Another amazing thing. Like sometimes, like yesterday morning, at this time, there were clouds everywhere. And you couldn't see the sunlight, right? And you could see the light coming through the cloud, but you couldn't see the sun. And the whole Seattle area was covered with clouds. You know how many pounds of rain there was in those clouds? It's not just one cloud. The whole area is covered with clouds. There's hundreds and millions of pounds of rain, and not one drop fell. There was no rain yesterday. And then it all moved, and there was blue sky by 12 o'clock. Up until around 11 o'clock, everything was covered with cloud, and it all moved miraculously, and it became clear skies, right? And it moved, and we're inland, or it moved, I don't know, it's moved. So that's all because of changing temperatures, alternating temperatures, creating a low pressure area and a high pressure area. So then the wind starts to move, and it moves these hundreds and millions of pounds of clouds, hundreds of miles. We've moved all those clouds out of the Seattle area into the eastern Washington. See, now all this is going on. Are you aware of all this? Are you aware of this? No. Did they ever explain this to you in the school? No. This is real science. This is real science, and it's all coming from Krishna. So, this kinetic energy now, it was potential energy before in the cloud. Now, because of the change in temperature and so forth, now the molecules of the water molecules join together, and the bigger conglomerate of molecules becomes heavier than the air below it. Now it starts to rain. So now you've converted potential energy into kinetic energy. This bigger molecule of water has kinetic energy in it. And kinetic energy is energy which a body possesses by virtue of being in motion, because now it's moving down, right? Now what happens? This energy is then used to rotate the turbine of a generator to produce electricity. So when it comes down, let's say it falls on a mountain as snow first. And now spring has come, so the sun gets hotter. And how does spring happen? You know how spring happens? How did it move? On its axis, that's right. So the whole axis of the Earth, axis is the line in which it's rotating, and it's also tipping. So now the Earth tips closer to the sun on the northern hemisphere, and the southern hemisphere becomes winter, and now it's becoming spring and summer. Yeah. Anyway, by the way, the United States doesn't control that tipping, right? So now it's getting warmer on the northern hemisphere, right? So that creates, these higher and low pressure areas. And the first snowfall came. Now the sun is going to melt the snow on Mount Rainier and all these mountains. It's going to cause these rivers to come down to the lower land, and they'll go to the ocean, right? So they make a dam on these rivers. And why do they do that? There's several reasons why they make a dam. Anybody know? Well, to stop the fast flow of the water. So now you change the kinetic energy of the flowing water to potential energy in the dam. And now they can release that potential energy at different rates. And they have things called turbines. These are engines that don't have energy, but when they push the water into it, they don't push it, but the weight of the water pushes it at a very fast pace, faster than normal current. And this machine is made in such a way that when the water hits it, it'll turn. Now, when it turns, it produces electricity. It changed the potential energy into kinetic energy again. And it's just like in a car. When there's an explosion in the cylinder goes down and comes back up again. And then the exhaust comes out of your exhaust tube, right? But that explosion forced it to go down, and because it creates this like a vacuum, it forces it to go up again and push out the exhaust. that up and down movement turns something else, and it makes your wheel turn. It's amazing. But that's combustion energy. But there's no combustion with water. It's just the difference between building up the pressure of potential energy and releasing it. You know how much weight there is in a dam like Hoover Dam? It's unbelievable amount of weight in that dam. Right? And by the way, when they build a dam, you have to make it so it can support this incredible amount of weight. If you don't make the dam right, it'll bust the dam. And dams bust. They happen all the time because they miscalculated. Or their calculation was correct, but they didn't take into effect an unnatural amount of rain, and an abnormal amount of rain. And that'll bust the dam, and it kills people, and it destroys so many things, right? Because this huge amount of water comes at one time when the dam busts. In fact, there's pictures of dams busting. There's one that busted recently in the United States. Right? So you see how their engineering, but their engineering is nothing compared to Krishna's engineering. Right? But they figure out these ways of using the potential energy built up by a dam to make the turbines move without combustion. And then when they move, it produces electricity that you can use. Haribol.
यशोमती नंदन ब्रजबर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना यशोमती नंदन ब्रजबर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना गोपी परनदन मदन मनोहर गोपी परनदन मदन मनोहर कालिय दमन विदाना अमल हरिनाममिय विलासा आमल हरिनाममिय विलासा विपिन पुरंदर नवीन नगर बर बंसी बदन सुवासा प्रजजन पालन सुरकुल नासन प्रजजन पालन सुरकुल नासन नंद गोदन रखवाला गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर गोविंद माधव नवनीत तस्कर सुन्दरनन्द गोपाला जमुनतटचर गोपीबसनहर रसरसिक कृपमोया श्रीराधवल्लभ वृन्दावन नटवर श्रीराधवल्लभ वृन्दावन नटवर भक्ति विनोद श्राया यशोमती नंदन ब्रजभर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना यशोमती नंदन ब्रजभर नागर गोकुल रंजन काना जय राधा नील माधव राधा नील माधव राधे जय राधा नील माधव राधा नील माधव राधे जय सीताराम जय सीताराम जय सीताराम जय लक्ष्मण हनुमान जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय लक्ष्मी नरसिंह जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेवा जय सुभद्रा जय गौरानीता जय गौरानीता जय गौरानीता जय गौरानीता जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल
So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse number 42, in the purport, it says, Lord Sri Krishna is the one absolute Supreme Personality of Godhead, but he has expanded himself into his multiplenary portions by his inconceivable energy. The conception of duality is due to ignorance of his inconceivable energy. In the Bhagavad, see, in other words, if we can understand Krishna's inconceivable energy, that's something like an oxymoron. How can you understand something that's inconceivable, right? But you can understand partially, even though it's inconceivable. Inconceivable because we can't measure how powerful Krishna is. But, and how many multiple energies he controls, or he is a source of. But we can get a general idea of it by hearing from Bhagavatam. So it says, the conception of duality is due to ignorance of his inconceivable energy. So the conception of duality, that is that one thing is different from another thing, and they're opposites. They can't be the same thing. But if you study carefully Krishna's energy, you see that there's oneness in everything. But at the same time, there's difference also. So this, you can understand everything as one, and you can understand everything is different, but you can't understand how everything is simultaneously and inconceivably one and different. That gets you confused. Right? So, he's saying here, Prabhupada is saying, in the Bhagavad Gita 9.11, the Lord says that only the foolish take him to be a mere human being. Such foolish men are not aware of his inconceivable energies. So let's take a look at that verse. I think that's avyaktim vyaktim apanam manyate mam ubudaya, but let's see. No, it's avajananti mam buddha manasim tanam asritya parambhavam ajananto mama bhuta maheshwaram. Fools deride me when I descend in a human form. They do not know my transcendental nature as the Supreme Lord of all that be. So, here it says, in the Bhagavad Gita 9.11, the Lord says that only the foolish take him to be a mere human being. Such foolish men are not aware of his inconceivable energies. As the sun is present before everyone all over the world. So you see, here is a comparison of Krishna's inconceivable energies to the sun. The sun, he says, is present in everyone's. He says that by his inconceivable energy, he is present in everyone's heart, as the sun is present before everyone all over the world. So, he's comparing the omnipresence of the sun, the all-presence of the sun, in the heart of every living entity, with Krishna being the Paramatma in the heart of every living entity. See? The Paramatma feature of the Lord is an expansion of his plenary portions. He expands himself. That means this Paramatma is expansion of Krishna's expansions, such as the Vishnu expansions, especially Kshirodakshai Vishnu. He expands himself as Paramatma in everyone's heart by his inconceivable energy, and he also expands himself as the glowing effulgence of Brahma Jyoti by expansion of his personal glow. It is stated in the Brahma Samhita that the Brahma Jyoti is his personal glow. Therefore, there is no difference between him and his personal glow, or Brahmajyoti, or his plenary portions as Paramatma. Less intelligent persons who are not aware of this fact consider Brahmajyoti and Paramatma to be different from Sri Krishna. This misconception of duality is completely removed from the mind of Bhismadev, and he is now satisfied that it is Lord Sri Krishna who only is all in everything. This enlightenment is attained by the great Mahatmas or devotees, as it is stated in Bhagavad Gita 7:19, that Vasudeva is all in everything, and that there is no existence of anything without Vasudeva or Krishna. Vasudeva or Krishna or Lord Sri Krishna is the original Supreme Person, as now confirmed by a Mahajana. Who's a Mahajan? Bhismadev, right? And therefore both the neophytes and the pure devotees must try to follow in his footsteps. That is the way of the devotional line. Okay, so because we cannot understand Krishna's inconceivable energies, we see duality. We say, oh, Paramatma cannot be Krishna. He's a little cowherd boy in Vrindavan. Paramatma is in the heart of every living being. How can it be the same person? How can it be one? And they say, and the Brahmajyoti, that can't be the light emanating from Krishna's body. The Brahmajyoti is different. Well, see, that's duality, because they don't understand Krishna's inconceivable energies. The worshipable object of Bhismadev is Lord Sri Krishna as Parthasarathi, and that of the gopis is the same Krishna in Vrindavan as the most attractive Shamsundar. Now, Prabhupada called the deities in our Delhi temple Radha Parthasarathi deities. And one very big Vaishnava guru said, this is nonsense. How can it be Radha Parthasarathi? You see. Right? Yeah. But it's not nonsense. Here Prabhupada is explaining. Because Prabhupada is a bigger guru. He is the Bara Guru. The other one is only a Bara Guru. Right? And he's actually not a guru if he contradicts Prabhupada. So he said, Prabhupada says here, that Bhismadev was suffering from this misconception also. He says that the worshipable object of Bhisma is Lord Sri Krishna as Parthasarathi, and that of the gopis is the same Krishna in Vrindavan as the most attractive Shamsundar. Sometimes less intelligent scholars make a mistake and think that the Krishna of Vrindavana and that of the battlefield of Kurukshetra are different personalities. But for Bhismadev, this misconception is completely removed. Even the impersonalist object of destination is Krishna as the impersonal Jyoti, or Brahma Jyoti. And the yogi's destination of Paramatma is also Krishna. Krishna is both Brahma Jyoti and localized Paramatma. But in Brahma Jyoti or Paramatma, there's no Krishna or sweet relations with Krishna. In his personal feature, Krishna, there is both Parasasarati and Shamsundar of Vrindavan. There you go. But in his impersonal feature, he is neither in the Brahma Jyoti nor in the Paramatma. Great Mahatmas like Bhismadeva realize all these different features of Lord Sri Krishna, and therefore they worship Lord Krishna, knowing him as the origin of all features. So this is a very profound purport. Canto 1, Chapter 9, verse number 43. This explains why people, they get confused by cause and effect. They get confused by dualities in life. But the devotees are not confused. They know that Krishna is everything, but everything is not Krishna. So everything is made of Krishna's energies, but Krishna is a unique individual, different than everyone else and everything else. Okay, so I'm coming back to today. In this process, the potential energy of water in a dam can be turned into kinetic energy, which can then become electric energy. So our lesson today was more information about the law of conservation of energy. Now, in this sheet that you got from me are many examples of the law of conservation of energy in everyday life. I want you to study this at home, and your homework is understand what is potential energy. Write down the definition of potential energy. Write down the definition of kinetic energy. And then explain how the potential energy in rain is transformed into kinetic energy and how the kinetic energy produces electricity. Explain that whole process. Explain how the potential energy of rain in a cloud is transformed into kinetic energy and how the kinetic energy produces electricity. So you have to study a dam, you have to study a cloud, you have to study all these things to be able to explain this. You have it in the sheet, but you have to carefully read it to understand. Okay? And third part of the homework, explain what happens in a car, how the potential energy how the kinetic energy in gasoline is transformed into motion of the car. Explain how the kinetic energy in gasoline produces the motion of a car. We discussed it somewhat, but go deeper into it. Actually learn. Do some research. So you'll have to know what happens, what makes the cylinders of the car move. Well, gasoline has kinetic energy, right? Kinetic energy is energy which a body possesses by virtue of being in motion. I'm sorry. Okay, yes, so it has potential energy. Yeah, I'm sorry. So to explain how the kinetic energy in the gasoline makes the car move. So if you have a car with no gasoline, will it move? Okay. Now, a car also has kinetic energy. Like, for example, this is a real example now. I knew a person in Philadelphia when I was young, my younger days, now in my older days. And his wife parked the car with the kids in it on a hill, on a hilly road, right? And she went to get something. Well, what happened was she did not put on the safety brake, the safety belt, handbrake, right? And I think she might have left by accident the car in neutral or something like that happened. So when she came back, the car was no longer there. At the end of the hill, and there was a crash, and her kids died. That's an example of potential energy. Now, the kids didn't turn the car on. The gasoline did not cause it to move. It had potential energy. Where does potential energy come from? It was on top of the hill. So it had potential energy, right? And it caused the death of her kids and ruined the car also. Right? I knew that family as a real tragedy. So you see, you have to be careful. Like, let's say you climb up on top of the jungle bars. So you have potential energy now. Because if you trip and fall, you could break your leg or your neck. You could break your neck and die. You could break your leg because you're up high. Just like the rain is up high, right? And at a certain point it starts falling down. That potential energy becomes kinetic energy. Right? Put the wheels toward the sidewalk, you know. Yeah. But you never know. If something could happen. You might have forgot to put it in the park, or maybe the brakes fail. They can also fail because if you're up really high, that pressure could make them break. And so if you point the wheels into the sidewalk, then even if everything fails, still the car would not move easily, or it would move very slowly. You know, you could catch it, you know. You see, so you have to know what potential energy is and kinetic energy is. Very important. Okay, so we learned a lot of things, and you have your homework for, by the way, next week. But because school is going to be out soon, no, but in 3 weeks, school is going to be out. After that, you could come to class every day. You can come to class every day at 7:30. Yes. And we won't have a long class till 9:30. We'll only have, stop at 8:30 exact. Just 1 hour. So we'll talk about that, or think about it. Can't sleep in. Haribol. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Is this interesting?